Former President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to federal charges in the special counsel probe. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. According to CBS News, former President Donald Trump appeared in a federal courtroom Thursday for his arraignment on four felony charges accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election results, pleading not guilty in the latest case brought by special counsel Jack Smith. Trump appeared before a magistrate judge in U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. to enter his plea. While cameras were not allowed in the courtroom, CBS News reporters were on the scene to document the proceeding, which lasted just under a half hour. A federal grand jury hearing evidence in Smith's investigation approved a historic indictment on Tuesday, charging Trump with four felony counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. The 45-page charging document the 45-page charging document accuses Trump and six co-conspirators of pursuing several schemes to block the transfer of power to Joe Biden after Trump lost the 2020 election, culminating in the January 6 attack on the Capitol. The indictment alleges Trump knew his claims of widespread voter fraud were false, but, quote, repeated and widely disseminated them anyway to make his knowingly false claims appear legitimate, create an intense national atmosphere of mistrust and anger, and erode public faith in the administration of the election, close quote. The former president traveled from New Jersey in his private jet for Thursday's hearing. His motorcade made its way to D.C. Cutting through downtown traffic on its way to the courtroom near the Capitol, Trump has denounced Smith's probe as politically motivated and denies any wrongdoing. This was Trump's third arraignment on criminal charges in 4 months. In April, he was booked and processed in New York on state charges related to an alleged, quote, hush money, quote, payment to an adult film star in 2016. In June, he appeared in court in Miami to face federal charges in Smith's parallel investigation into his handling of classified documents found at his Mar-a-Lago resort. He pleaded not guilty in those cases as well. Trump's first hearing before U.S. District Judge Chahutkan, who now takes over the case, is scheduled for August 28th at 10 a.m. Magistrate Judge Moaxlia Upahayaya said she had consulted with Chutkan, and they agreed to waive Trump's appearance for that date. Both the prosecutors and the defense agreed to the conditions for the former president's release pending trial. Trump cannot violate federal law, must appear in court as required, and sign an appearance bond. He is also not allowed to communicate about the facts of the case to anyone he knows to be a witness except through attorneys. The judge also reminded Trump it is a crime to intimidate a juror, bribe anyone, or obstruct the administration of justice, a standard disclaimer in a criminal case, and asked if he understood. Trump responded that he did. Trump stood at the end of the defense table as his attorney, John Luraro, went to the podium. Trump said he pleaded not guilty to the charges. When prompted, Trump stated his name and age to the judge. The judge read the four charges and potential penalties Trump faces, including the 20-year maximum sentence for the charge of conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding and obstruction of an official proceeding. Trump looked at the judge as she slowly read the charges and potential penalties. The judge read Trump his rights, including his right to remain silent and right to an attorney. He responded that yes, he understood. Magistrate Judge Moaxia Upahayaya entered the courtroom about 20 minutes after Trump arrived. Trump and the rest of the courtroom stood in attention and then were seated again as the proceeding began. The clerk announced the case name United States of America versus Donald J. Trump, and the former president stood, raised his hand, and was sworn in. Trump is to Ayupahayaya's right, and prosecutors are seated to her left. Before the judge came in, Trump was flanked by his attorneys, chatting primarily with Todd Blanche. His hands were mostly folded on the wooden table. Trump arrived in the courtroom as the arraignment prepared to get underway. He walked slowly over to the prosecution table and sat down. He is now seated between his attorneys, John Luaro to his left and Todd Blanche to his right. He was speaking back and forth with his attorneys and at times looking around the room at the gallery with his hands clasped. Jack Smith, the special counsel, is also on hand for the proceeding. The special counsel's office is still continuing its investigation behind the scenes. CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costas said on a CBS special report. He noted there is, quote, a lot of work simultaneously going on inside the Justice Department, close quote. The indictment is part of a story. Investigators likely have more evidence, Costa said. The former president's motorcade has arrived at the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., the same courthouse where hundreds of defendants have been prosecuted for their roles in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Aides and allies spotted emerging from Trump's plane. With him included Alina Habba, the general counsel for Save America PAC, and top campaign advisors Susie Wiles, Chris Savata, Jason Miller, and Stephen Schung. Political and legal advisor Boris Epstein was also on the plane. Trump will appear before Magistrate Judge Alexia Apayuhayaya for his arraignment. As a magistrate judge, Upahayaya's role in the case will be brief. In federal cases, defendants appear before magistrate judges for their initial hearings, where they formally hear the charges against them and typically enter pleas. The magistrate judge decides whether the defendant will be released as the case proceeds and under what conditions. The case will be taken over by U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan, who was randomly assigned to oversee it. Upahayaya was appointed as a magistrate judge on September 7, 2022, according to her D.C. District Court biography. So I'll get to who she is in part 2 of this video. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender.